When dealing with electrical components like capacitors, especially after noticing a burnt wire, safety is the top priority. Here's a breakdown of how to safely discharge a capacitor in a tanning bed and how to determine if it's come bad. Firstly, gather the necessary materials, which include insulated gloves and a screwdriver with an insulated handle. Wire cutters are optional. Secondly, wear insulated gloves to protect your hands from electrical shock. Thirdly, disconnect the power to the tanning bed by turning off the breaker or fuse associated with it. This is a crucial step to prevent any accidental electrical discharge during the process. Fourthly, allow any residual charge to dissipate by waiting 24 hours with the power off. Capacitors can hold a charge even after the power is disconnected, so this waiting period is essential for safety. Fifthly, short the capacitor terminals. Wearing insulated gloves and keeping your fingers away from the terminals, use the insulated screwdriver or wire cutters to connect the terminals of the capacitor together. This creates a path for the remaining charge to safely discharge. You might hear a small spark or crackling sound as the capacitor discharges, which is normal. Now let's address the question of whether the capacitor is bad. A burnt wire connected to the capacitor could indeed indicate a problem, but it could also be due to other issues like loose connections or excessive heat. To determine the capacitor's condition, there are a few tests you can perform. 1. Check for shorts. Use a multimeter set to the resistance or continuity setting to check if the capacitor terminals are shorted together. If the multimeter shows a very low resistance or a continuous beep, it indicates a shorted capacitor. 2. Measure capacitance. Use a capacitance meter to measure the capacitance of the capacitor and compare it to the manufacturer's specifications. If the measured capacitance is significantly different from the specified value, the capacitor is likely faulty. 3. Inspect for damage. Carefully examine the capacitor for any signs of swelling, leaking, or physical damage. These are all indications that the capacitor is damaged and needs replacement. It is important to emphasize a few safety precautions. Firstly, always discharge capacitors safely before working on them. Capacitors can store a dangerous amount of energy even after the power is turned off. Secondly, wear insulated gloves and avoid touching the terminals directly. Direct contact with the terminals can result in a severe electrical shock. Thirdly, if you are unsure about any step of the process, consult a qualified electrician. Working with electrical components can be dangerous, and it's always best to seek professional help if you are not comfortable performing the tasks yourself. When dealing with electrical circuits, understanding the basics of how capacitors work is also useful. A capacitor is a passive electronic component that stores electrical energy in an electric field. It consists of two conductor plates separated by an insulator called a dielectric. When a voltage is applied across the plates, an electric field forms in the dielectric, causing electrical energy to be stored. Capacitors are used in a wide variety of applications, including filtering, energy storage, and timing circuits. In the context of a tanning bed, capacitors are often used in a power supply to provide a stable voltage to the lamps. They can also be used in the timing circuits to control the duration of the tanning session. When a capacitor fails, it can cause a variety of problems. If the capacitor shorts, it can cause a fuse to blow or damage other components in the circuit. If the capacitor loses its capacitance, it can cause the voltage to become unstable, which can lead to flickering lamps or other performance issues. Replacing a capacitor involves selecting the correct replacement capacitor. The replacement capacitor should have the same capacitance, voltage rating, and temperature rating as the original capacitor. It's also important to ensure that the replacement capacitor is of high quality and from a reputable manufacturer. When replacing the capacitor, be sure to follow the safety precautions outlined earlier. Disconnect the power, discharge the capacitor, and wear insulated gloves. If you're not comfortable replacing the capacitor yourself, consult a qualified electrician. Beyond these steps, consider factors that can lead to capacitor failure. Excessive heat can significantly reduce the lifespan of a capacitor. Ensure the tanning bed has adequate ventilation to prevent overheating. Poor connections can also cause problems. Loose or corroded connections can increase resistance, leading to heat buildup and potential component failure. Regularly inspect and tighten all electrical connections. Surges and voltage spikes can damage capacitors. Consider installing surge protection devices to protect the tanning bed from voltage fluctuations. By understanding the safe methods for discharging capacitors, knowing how to test for capacitor failure, and taking preventative measures, you can maintain the electrical safety and performance of the tanning bed. Remember that electricity can be dangerous, and it's always best to prioritize safety and seek professional help when needed.